The great chamber of the Galactic Council stretched wider than most planetary capitals. Floating platforms held representatives from 342 different species, each one more impressive than the last. Some had scales that shimmered like diamonds. Others had wings that could slice through steel. A few glowed with natural bioluminescence that painted the dark ceiling with moving colors. On the smallest platform, barely noticed by anyone, sat 3 humans. Kang Dai-ho adjusted his simple gray suit and watched the debate unfold. He had been Earth's chief ambassador for 23 years now. His hair had gone from black to silver during that time. Every single session, he sat in the same spot. Every single session, he remained quiet. Next to him, Park Ji-won studied a data tablet. She was younger, only 34, with sharp eyes that missed nothing. Her official title was military attaché, but that hardly described what she really did. On Daeho's other side sat Lee Hee-jin, a woman who understood alien species better than most aliens understood themselves. The current speaker was Rovelix, Supreme Chancellor of the Draknir Empire. He stood nearly 12 feet tall, covered in crimson scales that had deflected plasma fire in 100 battles. His voice boomed across the chamber like thunder. Once again we waste time on the human question, Rovelix announced. His tail swept behind him in an arc of barely controlled irritation. For 287 years, Earth has held observer status in this council. For 287 years, they have contributed nothing. No technology. No military support, no diplomatic initiatives. They simply sit. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber. A delegate from the insectoid vole collective clicked its mandibles thoughtfully. Thesic, the vole's primary observer, tilted its triangular head but said nothing. I propose we vote, Rovelix continued. Earth's voting rights should be suspended. They clearly have no interest in participating in galactic affairs. Daeho felt Ji-won tense beside him. Her hand moved slightly toward the communication device on her wrist. He touched her arm gently, shaking his head. Not yet. A delegate from the Merchant Guild stood up. Carthun was an avian species, covered in brilliant blue and gold feathers. With respect to the Supreme Chancellor, the merchant said in a musical voice, Earth has paid all required dues. They attend all sessions. They have violated no laws. On what grounds do we remove their rights? On the grounds that they are useless, snapped another delegate. Look at them. No natural weapons, no armor. They live barely a century. On their homeworld, they are not even the apex predator. They share their planet with creatures that could kill them easily. Laughter echoed through the chamber. Daeho had heard it all before. He kept his face calm, his hands folded on the desk in front of him. Hee-jin made notes on her tablet. Ji-won stared straight ahead. The humans are a protected species, Rovelix declared. They were granted council membership out of curiosity, nothing more. That curiosity has long since faded. I call for a vote in 30 days. More voices joined in support. Daeho counted them mentally. 67 species in favor, 23 opposed. The rest undecided or uninterested. The mathematics of politics never changed, regardless of how many legs or tentacles the politicians had. The session ended as it always did. Delegates filed, out in groups clustered by alliance and trade agreement. None approached the human platform. They never did. Back in their quarters, Ji-won finally let her frustration show. 23 years of this, she said, pacing the small room. 23 years of insults and mockery. When will Earth give the order? Patience, Daeho said quietly. He poured himself a cup of tea, a small luxury he allowed himself after each session. Everything happens when it is supposed to happen. Hee-jin looked up from her workstation. The Vole observer was watching us today, more carefully than usual. Thesic watches everything carefully, Daeho replied. The Vole have been in space for 50,000 years. They think in centuries, not days. Maybe they suspect something, Ji-won said. Perhaps. Daeho sipped his tea. It was jasmine, grown in the hydroponics bay 3 levels down. Even here, millions of light years from Earth, small comforts mattered. Or perhaps they simply wonder why we stay silent. His communication console chimed, a priority message from Earth. Deho set down his tea and opened the encrypted channel. The message was short, only 5 words. Permission granted. Speak freely. He read it 3 times. Then he looked at Jiwon and Hyejin. Both women stood frozen, staring at him. Is that? Jiwon started. Yes, Daiho said. He felt something unfamiliar rising in his chest. After all these years, it took him a moment to recognize it. Anticipation. Begin preparations. Tomorrow's session will be different. That night, Daiho could not sleep. He stood at the observation window of his quarters, looking out at the stars. Earth was out there somewhere, invisible among billions of suns. He thought about his daughter, who he had not seen in person for 8 years. She was a captain now, commanding her own ship. He wondered if she knew what was about to happen. He thought about the first humans who had come to the Galactic Council 3 centuries ago. They had arrived in primitive ships, barely capable of faster-than-light travel. They had been so excited, so eager to join the great community of spacefaring species. The galaxy had crushed that excitement quickly. Humans were weak, the Council decided. Fragile, short-lived. They had no natural advantages. Their technology was centuries behind. They were placed in the lowest tier of membership, given observer status, and essentially ignored. Some had wanted to fight back immediately. Daiho had read the classified reports. There had been votes on Earth, angry debates, calls for military action, but wiser voices had prevailed. Let them think we are weak, those voices had said. Let them ignore us. We will watch. We will learn. And when the time is right, we will show them what humans can really do. 287 years, 10 human generations, all preparing for this moment. The next morning, the council chamber filled as usual. Delegates floated to their platforms. The session began with routine matters, trade disputes, border agreements, resource allocation. Then Rovelik stood again. Before we adjourn, I wish to formalize yesterday's proposal. Let us vote now on the matter of Earth's continued voting rights. Daiho took a deep breath. Beside him, Jiwon's hand moved to her communication device. Hyejin pulled up files on her tablet. He stood up. The chamber fell silent. In 287 years, no human delegate had ever stood during a session. Heads turned. Eyes, compound and simple, focused on the small human platform. Honored delegates, Daiho said. His voice was calm, clear. The translation systems carried his words to every species in their own languages. For 287 years, Earth has remained silent in these chambers. Today, with your permission, I would like to speak. Rovelik stared at him. The Draknir's golden eyes narrowed. You wish to defend your presence here? No, Daiho said. I wish to introduce you to humanity. The real humanity. Not the version you think you know. He nodded to Jiwon. She activated the holographic display system. Above the human platform, images began to form. Ships, weapons, stations, numbers, data. All of it carefully documented, verified, undeniable. Daiho smiled, though there was no warmth in it. Let me tell you a story, he said, about what humans do when the galaxy underestimates them. The chamber remained perfectly silent. And for the first time in centuries, the galaxy truly looked at humanity and saw what had been hiding in plain sight all along. The holographic images rotated slowly above the human platform. They showed ships massive and sleek, built with technology that should not exist. Station after station appeared, hidden in asteroid belts and planetary rings, each one bristling with weapons. Daiho let the silence stretch. He had learned patience well over the years. Let them look. Let them begin to understand. You called us weak, he said finally. You were not wrong. When humanity first reached the stars, we were fragile. Our ships were slow. Our weapons were primitive. We had no natural armor, no evolutionary advantages. We were prey animals trying to survive in a galaxy of predators. Rovelix leaned forward on his platform. Is this supposed to change our minds? You admit your weakness. I admit what we were, Deho corrected, not what we became. He gestured and the holographic display changed. Now it showed a timeline, events from Earth's history, wars, innovations, adaptations. Humans are unique in one way, Deho continued. We adapt. When something threatens us, we study it. We learn from it. We become better than it. This is how we survived on Earth, surrounded by creatures stronger and faster than us. This is how we survived among the stars. Park Ji-won stood beside him now. She activated her own data files. For 287 years, we have attended every council session. We listened to every debate. We studied every species represented here. Your military doctrines. Your weaknesses. Your fears. A new image appeared. It showed the Draknir Empire's battle formations, analyzed and annotated with human tactical notes. Weak points highlighted in red. Rovlix's scales darkened with anger. This is espionage. This is observation, Ji-won said calmly. We attended public sessions. We read published military histories. We analyzed broadcast conflicts. Everything we learned was freely available. You simply never imagined we were paying attention. More images. The Vol Collective's hive structure, the Merchant Guild's trade routes, the territorial boundaries of a dozen smaller empires, all mapped, all studied, all understood. Deho pulled up another file. You asked what we have been doing while we sat silent in this chamber. Let me show you. The hologram expanded, filling half the chamber. It showed a region of space beyond the Council's established borders. Hidden colonies dotted the display, 47 worlds all marked with Earth's symbol. Uninhabitable worlds, you called them. Yejin spoke for the first time. Her voice was gentle, almost apologetic. Too cold, too hot, wrong atmosphere, unsuitable for life. But humans are very good at making unsuitable places suitable. The display zoomed into one world. Cities appeared domed and thriving. Populations in the billions. Each colony specializes in something, Yejin continued. Research, manufacturing, agriculture, shipbuilding. We have spread across space while you believed we huddled on one small planet. Carthun, the Merchant Guild representative, stood suddenly, his feathers ruffled in agitation. The census. Earth reported only 12 billion citizens in the last galactic census. Earth itself has 12 billion citizens, Deho confirmed. Earth, not humanity. The numbers appeared on the display. Colony by colony, the population figures added up. Carthun's beak opened in shock. 890 billion, Deho said quietly. That is humanity's true population. We have more citizens than the Draknir Empire, the Vol Collective and the Merchant Guild combined. The chamber erupted. Delegates shouted in a dozen different languages. Platforms shifted as species moved closer to see the data. Some voices called for verification. Others demanded an immediate military response. Rovlix's voice cut through the chaos. Silence! The chamber quieted, but the tension remained thick. You speak of numbers and hidden colonies, the Draknir Chancellor said. His voice was dangerous now, controlled rage barely held in check. You speak of studying our weaknesses. This sounds like preparation for war. It was preparation for survival, Deho replied. You have to understand. When humanity first joined this council, we came with hope. We believed in galactic community. We wanted to contribute, to learn, to grow together with other species. He paused and his expression hardened. 3 human colony ships were destroyed in the first 10 years of our membership. Destroyed by species who saw us as easy prey, convenient targets. We lodged formal complaints with this council. Do you know what happened? Nothing. The attacks were not investigated. The guilty were not punished. We were told that space is dangerous and weak species must accept certain risks. The chamber was silent now. Some delegates looked uncomfortable. Others remained defiant. So we made a choice, Deho continued. We could leave the council, return to Earth, and hide. Or we could stay, appear weak and helpless while we built strength in secret. We chose to stay. We chose to watch and learn. And we chose to prepare for the day when the galaxy would take us seriously. Ji-won activated another display. This one showed weapons. Designs that made several delegates gasp. Gravitational disruptors, she explained. They destabilize molecular bonds in Draknir armor plating. Harmonic pulse cannons that disrupt Volhive communication. Thermal weapons calibrated for species with methane-based biology. Every major species in this council, We have designed weapons specifically to counter your natural advantages. This is illegal, someone shouted. The Council banned species-specific weapons. The Council banned member species from developing such weapons, Deho corrected. We are merely observers, remember? The lowest tier of membership. Many of your own laws do not apply to us. You made sure of that when you designed the tier system. Thesic, the Vol observer, finally spoke. Its voice was like wind through crystals, strange and beautiful. How long have you been planning this? Since the beginning, Deho said honestly. Since the first human diplomat sat in this chamber and was ignored. Since the first colony ship burned. Since the day we realized the galaxy saw us as nothing more than a curiosity. He looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of delegates from 100 different worlds. But we do not want war. We never did. We want what we have always wanted. Respect, equal treatment, a real voice in galactic affairs. And if you do not get it? Rovelix challenged. Deho's expression did not change. Then the galaxy will learn what humans are truly capable of. We have shown you our colonies, our population, our weapons research. We have not shown you our fleet. More images, ships emerging from the darkness of space. Hundreds of them, thousands, each one larger than anything the Council possessed. We built them in the Oort cloud, Jiwan explained. In the dark spaces between stars. In asteroid fields you mapped but never explored. We built them slowly over centuries while you ignored us. Admiral Choi Minho's face appeared on the hologram. He stood on the bridge of a massive warship. Behind him, visible through the viewports, were more ships than anyone could quickly count. This is Admiral Choi Minho, commanding the United Human Space Fleet. His recorded message played. We stand ready to defend Earth and all human colonies. We hope for peace. We prepare for war. The choice belongs to the Galactic Council. The chamber descended into chaos again. Species were already contacting their homeworlds. Alliance members gathered in urgent conferences. The carefully maintained balance of galactic power was shattering. Deho raised his voice over the noise. We make one demand. Simple and clear. Abolish the tier system. Grant all species equal representation and voting rights. Humanity will share some of our technology and provide military support to defend Council space. In return, we want a seat at the table. A real seat, not as observers but as equals. Rovelix stood tall, his scales now dark red with fury. The Draknir Empire does not negotiate with those who threaten us. You have shown your hand too soon, human. We will crush you before you can use those pretty ships. Will you? Deho asked quietly. Are you certain? Thesic rose from its platform. The Vol Collective requests a recess. 12 hours to consult with homeworlds and consider these revelations. Rovelix glared at the insectoid. There is nothing to consider. These humans have admitted to espionage, illegal weapons development, and threatening Council members. They have admitted to surviving, Thesic replied, something we Vol understand very well. I call for the vote on recess. The vote passed, barely, but it passed. As delegates filed out, Deho remained standing on the human platform. Jiwan and Hijin gathered their materials. Around them, the galaxy's power structure crumbled. Do you think they will accept our terms? Hijin asked quietly. Some will, Deho replied. Others will not, and those others will force the issue. Then there will be war, Jiwan said. Deho looked at the hologram still displaying humanity's hidden fleet. There will be a demonstration. After that, there will be understanding. And then finally, there will be peace. He hoped he was right. He had just gambled the future of humanity on one speech and a show of force. Now the galaxy would respond, and humanity would discover if 287 years of preparation had been enough. The 12 hours of recess became 24, then 48. The Galactic Council station buzzed with urgent activity. Encrypted communications flashed between homeworlds and their delegates. Secret meetings happened in shadowed corridors. Old alliances were tested and new ones proposed. Deho spent most of this time in Earth's diplomatic quarters, drinking too much coffee and sleeping too little. Reports came in constantly. 3 smaller species had already sent private messages supporting humanity's demands. 5 others had requested secret meetings to discuss technology sharing. And the Draknir Empire was assembling a war fleet. 19 capital ships confirmed, Jiwan reported, studying the intelligence feeds. Plus support vessels, that puts their force at approximately 200 ships total. They are gathering at the Vrex Nebula, 3 jumps from Sol system. Who else is joining them? Deho asked. The Carthon Dominion sent 12 ships. The Solvax clans another 8. 2 other species have pledged support but have not moved forces yet. G1 looked up from her tablet. They are calling themselves the Vrex Coalition. 5 species united to defend the galactic order from human aggression. Hyejin shook her head. Interesting that they frame us as the aggressors when we have not fired a single shot. We threatened their power, Deho said. That is aggression enough for empires built on domination. A chime announced a visitor. Deho opened the door to find Thesic standing there alone. The Vol observer's compound eyes reflected the corridor lights in strange patterns. May I enter? Thesic asked. I come without recording devices or weapons, just to talk. Deho stepped aside. The insectoid moved into the room with surprising grace for a creature its size. When the door closed, Thesic settled onto a reinforced chair designed for non-humanoid species. You have created quite a disturbance, Thesic said. Its mandibles clicked in what might have been amusement. The Council has not seen this much chaos in 3,000 years. That was not our intention, Deho replied. Was it not? Thesic tilted its triangular head. You revealed everything at once, maximum shock, maximum disruption. That seems intentional to me. Deho poured himself more coffee. He did not offer any to Thesic. The Vol did not drink liquids. Why are you here? To tell you a story, Thesic said. One that is not in the public records. 51,000 years ago, the Vol were not the peaceful observers you see today. We were conquerors. We spread across the galaxy like a swarm, consuming everything in our path. Hyejin leaned forward, interested. What changed? We met a species that destroyed 3 of our hive worlds in a single day, Thesic said quietly. They had been watching us, studying us, preparing for us. When we finally attacked their territory, they demonstrated power beyond anything we imagined. They did not destroy us completely. They could have. Instead, they taught us a lesson about patience and preparation. Where are they now? Ji-won asked. Gone. Ascended to another plane of existence, perhaps. Or extinct. Or simply hiding, watching new species make the same mistakes. Thesic's eyes focused on Deho. But they left us with wisdom. The truly dangerous species are not the ones who roar and flex their strength. They are the ones who sit quietly and watch. You knew, Deho said. You knew what we were doing. We suspected. We have been running probability simulations for the past century. In 94% of scenarios where humanity was provoked to reveal their true capabilities, you won the resulting conflict. The math was very clear. But you said nothing. We maintained your status as observers. We voted against efforts to expel you. We ensured you had time to complete your preparations. Thesic's mandibles clicked again. We have learned to recognize patient predators. We did not wish to see you exterminated before you could take your proper place in the galactic order. Deho stared at the Vol observer. Why help us? Because the galaxy needs balance. The Draknir and their allies have grown too comfortable in their dominance. They have forgotten that power must be earned continuously, not simply inherited from ancestors. You humans will remind them. This is good for everyone in the long term. Before Deho could respond, Ji-won's tablet chimed urgently. She glanced at it, and her expression hardened. The Vrex Coalition has issued an ultimatum. 48 hours. To dismantle all military installations and submit to council inspection. If we refuse, they will consider it an act of war. Thesic stood. Then you have a decision to make. Submit or fight. Those are not the only options, Deho said. The Vol observer paused at the door. No, I suppose they are not. Humans have always been creative problem solvers. I look forward to seeing what solution you devise. After Thesic left, the 3 humans sat in silence for a moment. We need to contact Admiral Minho, Ji-won said finally. Deho nodded. Open the secure channel. The holographic communicator activated. Choi Minho's face appeared, looking tired but determined. Behind him, the bridge of the UHSS Indomitable hummed with activity. Ambassador Kang, Minho greeted. I assume you have heard about the ultimatum? We have. What is the fleet's status? All ships are ready. We have moved to defensive positions around Sol System and the nearest colonies. If the coalition jumps in, we will be ready. Minho paused. I have also positioned strike teams in the Oort clouds of 3 coalition homeworlds. Insurance, in case they try something stupid. Good, but I want to try one more thing before this becomes a shooting war. What did you have in mind? Deho smiled grimly. A demonstration. Show them exactly what they are up against. 12 hours later, the Galactic Council reconvened. The tension in the chamber was suffocating. Delegates clustered in clear factions now. The Vrex Coalition on one side, species sympathetic to humanity on another, and a large group of undecided neutrals in the middle. Rovelix stood at his platform, radiating confidence. The Vrex Coalition has given humanity 48 hours to comply with our demands. That deadline is now 36 hours away. I asked the human delegation, what is your response? Deho stood slowly. We decline your demands. Murmurs spread through the chamber. Furthermore, Deho continued, we would like to provide a counter-demonstration to show the Vrex Coalition exactly what they are proposing to fight. More holograms? Rovelix scoffed. We have seen your ships. They are impressive. They are not enough. Then let me show you something else. Jiwan activated the main display. It showed a star map of the galaxy. 12 locations were highlighted in red. These are the locations of our defense stations, Deho explained. We revealed their positions 2 days ago. What we did not mention is what they defend. The display zoomed into one station. The structure was massive, built into a large asteroid. As the image rotated, weapons ports became visible. Hundreds of them. Each station is equipped with quantum-entangled targeting systems, Jiwan explained. They are linked to weapons platforms we have positioned throughout the galaxy, including in the home systems of every species that has joined the Vrex Coalition. The chamber went silent. Rovelix's scales paled. You would not dare. We would not want to, Deho corrected. But we are not bluffing. Every coalition capital world is currently being painted by human targeting systems. We could glass those worlds in minutes. We will not do this, of course, because we are not conquerors. We are defenders. He let that sink in. But know this. If the coalition attacks Earth, if you harm one human colony, if you fire one shot at our ships, we will defend ourselves. Completely, overwhelmingly, without mercy. A delegate from a neutral species stood. This is madness. You threaten billions of civilians. We threaten no one, Yejin said, speaking up. We demonstrate capability. There is a difference. The coalition threatened us first. We simply show them why that threat was unwise. Carthun, the Merchant Guild representative, spread his wings. This escalation serves no one. Both sides must step back. We agree, Deho said. Which is why we propose a different solution. Drop the ultimatum. Agree to negotiate our initial demands in good faith. We will deactivate the targeting systems and pull back our fleet to defensive positions. No one needs to die. No worlds need to burn. We can resolve this through dialogue. Rovelix stood rigid, fury and calculation warring on his face. Deho could see the Draknir Chancellor's mind working. Could he risk calling humanity's bluff? Did he believe they would really attack civilian populations? The truth was, Deho did not know if Earth's government would give that order. He hoped they would never have to find out. Thesic spoke into the silence. The Vol Collective supports immediate negotiations. We propose a neutral mediation committee to facilitate dialogue between humanity and all council members. Several other delegates voiced agreement. The neutral bloc was shifting, moving toward diplomatic solutions. Rovelix looked around the chamber. He was losing support and he knew it. The Vrex Coalition will consider the proposal, he said finally. Each word seemed to pain him. We will consult with our member species and provide a response in 12 hours. It was not a victory. But it was not war, not yet. As the session adjourned, Deho allowed himself a small breath of relief. Jiwan looked at him with concern. Do you really think they will negotiate? She asked quietly. Some will, Deho replied. But Rovelix? The Draknir Empire. They have ruled through strength for 10,000 years. They will not accept a diplomatic defeat easily. Then they will fight. Daeho looked out at the stars visible through the chamber's viewports. Somewhere out there, Admiral Minho's fleet waited. Somewhere else, the coalition gathered its forces. If they fight, Daeho said quietly, they will learn the same lesson the Vole learned 50,000 years ago. The patient predator always wins. The 12 hours came and went. The Vrex coalition's response was simple and brutal. Admiral Krell, commanding the Draknir fleet, jumped his forces to the edge of Sol system. 219 warships materialized in space, their weapons hot and shields raised. Aboard the UHSS Indomitable, Admiral Choi Minho watched the display with calm eyes. He had prepared for this moment for 15 years, since the day he took command of humanity's first true warship. Now that moment had arrived, and he felt strangely peaceful. Status of all vessels? He asked. All fleet elements report ready, his first officer replied. We count 647 human ships in defensive formation around Sol, 3 times the coalition's numbers. Minho had deliberately revealed a smaller fleet in the initial presentation to the council. Let them think they had a chance. Let them commit. Coalition flagship is broadcasting on all channels, the communications officer announced. Let me hear it. Admiral Krell's voice filled the bridge. The Draknir's words were harsh, angry. Humans of Earth, you have threatened the galactic order. You have developed illegal weapons. You have violated council protocols. Surrender immediately or face annihilation. You have 1 hour to respond. Minho glanced at the countdown timer. 1 hour. He turned to his communications officer. Send response. Audio only. The officer nodded. Minho took a breath and spoke clearly. Admiral Krell, you have entered Sol system with hostile intent. You are ordered to withdraw immediately. You have 1 hour to comply. He ended the transmission and smiled slightly. His officers looked at him with a mix of pride and nervousness. They were young, most of them. Born and raised on the colony worlds, they had trained their entire lives for war, but never experienced it. All ships move to combat formation, Alpha, Minho ordered. Deploy the Kuiper defense grid. Prepare gravitational disruptors. Across the solar system, human ships moved with practiced precision. Years of drills and simulations had prepared them for exactly this scenario. The coalition would have superior experience in actual combat, but humans had something else. They had fought each other for thousands of years on Earth, developing tactics and strategies that aliens had never encountered. The hour passed quickly. The coalition fleet began moving deeper into the system. Krell was not withdrawing. Visual on the coalition formation, Minho ordered. The main display showed the enemy ships in their traditional attack pattern. Capital ships in the center, support vessels on the flanks, fast attack craft screening the advance. Textbook Draknir doctrine, unchanged for centuries. Target the command ships, Minho said. Fire gravitational disruptors on my mark. The coalition fleet crossed an invisible line in space. Human weapons fired. The disruptors were invisible to normal sensors. They warped space itself, creating gravity wells that stressed ship hulls in ways they were never designed to handle. The coalition shields were calibrated for energy weapons and kinetic projectiles. They did nothing against twisted space-time. 3 Draknir capital ships simply came apart, their hulls buckling and shattering. Debris scattered in expanding clouds. Hundreds of crew died in seconds. The coalition fleet hesitated, stunned. They had expected a fight, but not this. Not weapons that bypassed all their defenses. Minho felt no satisfaction in the kills, only grim necessity. All ships advance. Formation beta. Target their engines, disable where possible. The human fleet surged forward. They moved faster than coalition ships, more maneuverable, using tactics drawn from Earth's naval and air warfare traditions. Small craft darted in, fired precise shots at engine clusters, and retreated before return fire could find them. Larger human ships used the wreckage of the destroyed vessels as cover, ambushing coalition ships from unexpected angles. While the main battle raged, Captain Yoon Tae-woo led a special operations team aboard a stealth ship called the Shadow. Their mission was different: infiltration. "We are approaching the Coalition command carrier," Yoon reported to his team. "Stealth systems holding. They cannot see us." His ship was small, black, and coated with materials that absorbed sensor waves. It slid through the battle like a ghost. Around them, capital ships exchanged fire in brilliant flashes of light and destruction. None of them noticed the shadow. "Docking in 30 seconds, the pilot announced. Yoon checked his assault rifle one more time. 15 years in special operations had taught him to trust his equipment completely. Behind him, 20 soldiers did the same. They wore powered armor, sleek and efficient. Nothing like the bulky combat suits other species used. The shadow attached to the Coalition carrier's hull with magnetic clamps. Cutting lasers began working on the armor plating. "Remember," Yoon told his team, "we are not here to kill. Capture the bridge. Take Admiral Krell alive if possible. Disable their communications. Make them blind." The hull plating fell away. The soldiers poured through into the Draknir ship. Back on Earth in the Intelligence Command Center, Han Suji watched multiple screens displaying the battle from every angle. She had spent 30 years in intelligence work, gathering information, analyzing enemy capabilities, preparing for this exact moment. Now her teams were putting all that preparation to use. "Cyber Attack Wave 1 deployed," one of her analysts reported. "We have accessed Coalition communication networks." "Good. Begin jamming their tactical channels. Route all enemy communications through our filters. Let them talk to each other, but delay every message by 3 seconds." It did not sound like much. 3 seconds. But in the chaos of battle, that tiny delay meant Coalition ships would always be reacting to old information. Their formations would drift out of sync. Orders would arrive too late. Confusion would spread. "Wave 2 ready," another analyst said. "Deploy it. Target their flagship's navigation systems." Across the battle space, invisible quantum signals infiltrated Coalition ships' computer systems. Humans had spent decades studying alien technology. They knew every vulnerability, every backdoor, every weakness. Navigation systems began reporting false data. Tactical displays showed phantom ships that did not exist. Weapon targeting developed slight errors that would cause shots to miss by meters. Admiral Krell stood on his bridge watching his fleet fall apart. Nothing was working as it should. Ships reported malfunctions. Communications were garbled. Enemy vessels appeared and disappeared from sensors. "What is happening?" he roared. His tactical officer looked terrified. "I do not know, Admiral. Systems are failing across the fleet. It is like the humans are inside our computers." Because they were. Krell realized it too late. The humans had not just built better ships. They had infiltrated every system, every network, every piece of technology the Coalition used. Then his bridge doors exploded inward. Yoon Tae-woo came through the smoke with his rifle raised. "Admiral Krell, you are under arrest for unprovoked attack on human territory. Order your fleet to stand down." Krell reached for his sidearm. Yoon shot it out of his hand with casual precision. 2 more shots disabled the guards before they could react. "Your bridge is surrounded," Yoon said calmly. "Your fleet is falling apart. You have lost. Order the retreat and save the lives of your remaining crews." Krell looked at the small human in front of him. This creature, barely reaching his chest height, had defeated him, had defeated the mighty Draknir Empire. The Admiral's pride warred with his duty. Thousands of his people were dying. For what? To maintain dominance over species they had dismissed as weak? He nodded slowly. "I will order the retreat." The Battle of the Kuiper Belt, as it would be called later, lasted only 6 hours. The Coalition lost 42 ships destroyed and 91 disabled. Human casualties were minimal. 3 ships damaged, none destroyed. 107 personnel killed. But the war was not over. When the Coalition fleet jumped away in disorder, Admiral Minho did not pursue. Instead, he opened a channel to the Galactic Council station. Daeho answered immediately. "Admiral, report. Coalition fleet has retreated. We have control of Sol system. Minimal casualties on our side. Coalition forces severely damaged." Minho paused. "Ambassador, they will regroup. This is not finished." "I know," Daeho said quietly. He stood in the council chamber, where delegates watched the battle footage in stunned silence. "But we have proven our point. Now we offer them a choice." He turned to face Rovalix. The Draknir Chancellor stood frozen, watching the replay of his empire's flagship being boarded by human soldiers. watching Admiral Krell surrender. "I have a communication for you," Deho said. "From Admiral Minho," the hologram appeared. It showed Earth's solar system, and surrounding every coalition homeworld, small icons appeared. Weapons platforms, human ships, all in position, all armed with antimatter warheads. "If you continue this war," Daiho said quietly, "if you send more ships to attack us, we will defend ourselves. And our defense will extend to your home systems. We do not want this. We do not want to kill billions. But we will protect humanity at any cost." The chamber was absolutely silent. Ravalik stared at the display, at the weapons positioned near his homeworld, at the power he had unleashed by underestimating the humans. "How long?" he asked, his voice barely audible. "How long have you had weapons in our home systems?" 23 years, Deho replied. "Since the day I became ambassador. We positioned them, then waited, hoping we would never need to reveal them, hoping the galaxy would accept us peacefully. You forced our hand." Thesic spoke from its platform. "The coalition must accept defeat. The alternative is mutual destruction." Other voices joined in. Even coalition members were calling for peace. Their homeworlds were hostage now. They had no choice. Ravalik looked at Deho with something between hatred and respect. "You have won, human. State your terms." Deho took a deep breath. After 287 years of silence, humanity finally had a voice. Equal representation in the council, abolishment of the tier system, and a mutual defense pact, guaranteeing no species will face extinction or slavery. These are our terms, and if we agree, then the weapons platforms are deactivated. Our fleets return to defensive positions, and we work together to build a better galaxy. The vote took 3 hours. In the end, 321 species voted in favor. Only 12 voted against. The Draknir Empire abstained. The 72-hour war was over. A new galactic order had begun. 3 months after the war ended, the Galactic Council met in a chamber that had been completely redesigned. The old tier system was gone. Every species now had an equal platform, arranged in a great circle rather than the old hierarchy of levels. Where once the powerful species looked down on the weak, now everyone met eye to eye. Kang Deho sat at the human platform, flanked by Park Ji-won and Lee Hyejin as always. But now their platform bore the same markers of authority as any other. The change was symbolic, but symbols mattered in politics. Ravalik called the session to order. The Draknir Chancellor had kept his position, though his power was greatly diminished. He looked older now, scales dulled, movements less confident. Defeat had humbled him. "This emergency session concerns the restructuring of council authority," Ravalik announced. "Multiple proposals have been submitted. The floor is now open for discussion." Carthun stood first. The Merchant Guild representative had been busy since the war ended, establishing trade agreements with human colonies. The economic benefits of partnership with humanity were already obvious to anyone who cared about profit. "The Merchant Guild supports the human proposal for a security council," Carthun said. 5 permanent members with veto power, rotating membership from other species. This will prevent any single empire from dominating military decisions. A delegate from a smaller species objected. "Why should some species have more power than others? We just abolished the tier system." "Because practical realities exist," Thesic replied. The Vol Observer had been remarkably active in recent weeks, breaking its species' usual silence. The Vol, the Draknir, the Merchant Guild, and humanity possess the largest fleets and economies. Ignoring this creates instability. Better to acknowledge power and channel it through proper structures. The Vol Collective agrees to serve on the Security Council, Thesic continued, as does the Merchant Guild and reluctantly the Draknir Empire. All eyes turned to Deho. He stood slowly. "Earth agrees to serve on the Security Council," he said, "but with conditions. We propose that the 5th permanent seat rotate among smaller species on a 5-year cycle. This ensures diverse perspectives and prevents the Security Council from becoming another tier system." Murmurs of approval spread through the chamber. It was a clever compromise. The powerful species got formal recognition, but the smaller ones got a voice and a chance at real influence. Furthermore, Deho continued, humanity offers to share specific technologies with all council members. Medical advances, agricultural techniques, energy generation methods. Not weapons, but tools for building prosperous societies. Why would you do this? A skeptical delegate asked. What do you gain? Stability, Deho replied simply. Prosperous species do not start wars. Species that cooperate achieve more than those who fight. We gain partners instead of enemies. We gain a galaxy where humans can live in peace. Heejin stood beside him. We also request the formation of a xenological research institute, a place where species can study each other openly, share knowledge, understand our differences and similarities. The institute would be neutral ground, protected by all council members. Humans would lead this institute? Someone asked suspiciously. We would contribute researchers, Heejin said, as would every other species. Leadership would rotate. The goal is collaboration, not domination. The proposals were debated for hours. Amendments were suggested, discussed, voted on. By the end of the session, the basic framework was in place. A new Galactic Council charter would be drafted and presented for final approval in 30 days. After the session ended, Heejin slipped away from the main crowds. She had a private meeting scheduled, one that did not appear on any official records. Thesic waited for her in a small observation room, looking out at the stars. The Vol observer turned as she entered. Thank you for meeting me, Heejin said. You wish to discuss the prophecy, Thesic stated. It was not a question. You mentioned it during the crisis, an ancient Vol prophecy about a patient predator species. I want to understand. Thesic's compound eyes reflected the starlight strangely. 51,000 years ago, my people learned wisdom from a species we could not defeat. Before they left our space forever, they shared a prophecy. They said another species would arise, one that did not match our usual patterns. They would seem weak at first, easily dismissed, but if left alone, they would grow strong through patience and learning. They were talking about humans, perhaps? Or perhaps they were describing a pattern that repeats throughout galactic history. Species evolve in many ways. Some become strong through size or natural weapons, others through numbers. But the most dangerous species, the prophecy said, would be those who became strong through understanding. Heejin considered this. What else did the prophecy say? It warned us to recognize such species when they appeared, to guide them, but not to control them, to help them reach their potential, because they would be needed when true threats emerged. True threats? Worse than the conflicts we have now? Thesic was quiet for a long moment. When it spoke again, its voice carried weight. The galaxy is vast, Heejin. The Council controls only a small portion of it. Beyond our borders, in the dark spaces between spiral arms, things exist that we do not understand. Ancient things, dangerous things. They do not care about our politics or our wars. A chill ran down Heejin's spine. Are you saying humanity was guided? That the Vol have been manipulating our development? We observed. We protected when necessary. We ensured you had time to grow. But your choices were your own. Your strength is your own. Thesic turned to face her fully. Tell me, what will humanity do with this power you have claimed? Heejin thought about the question carefully. It was the question everyone was asking, in council chambers and on homeworlds across the galaxy. What would humanity do now that they were no longer the weakest species? We will build, she said finally. We will explore. We will protect those who need protection. We will make mistakes, probably, but we will try to do better than those who came before us. A good answer, Thesic said, though time will tell if humans can maintain such ideals once power becomes comfortable. Meanwhile, in Sol System, Admiral Choi Minho supervised the integration of coalition officers into human training programs. The Security Council had ordered joint exercises between former enemies. It was awkward, tense, but necessary. Captain Yoon Tae-woo stood beside him, watching Draknir soldiers practice with human weapon systems. They are learning quickly, Yoon observed. They are warriors, Minho replied. They respect strength and skill. We demonstrated both. Now they want to understand how we achieved a victory with inferior numbers. Do we tell them? Eventually. But first they must learn to trust us. Trust takes time. A Draknir officer approached, saluting awkwardly in the human style. Admiral Minho, I have a question about your tactical doctrine. Ask. During the battle, your ships did not maintain formation. You broke standard defensive patterns repeatedly. This should have created vulnerabilities, but instead it gave you advantages. How? Minho smiled slightly. Because we did not have one tactical doctrine. We had dozens. Every captain had authority to improvise, to adapt to changing conditions. Your fleet responded as a single unified force. Ours responded as hundreds of independent units working toward a common goal. The Draknir officer's eyes widened. That is chaos. How do you coordinate? Practice, trust, and accepting that chaos can be a weapon if you know how to use it. The officer nodded slowly, beginning to understand. This was why the humans had won. Not because of superior technology alone, but because they thought differently about everything from tactics to strategy to the very nature of warfare. Back on Earth, in the capital city of New Seoul, Han Suji met with representatives from 20 different species. They all wanted the same thing: human intelligence methodology, cyber warfare training, information gathering techniques. We will share some of our methods, Suji told them, but understand intelligence work is not just about technology. It is about understanding psychology, culture, motivation. Every species thinks differently. What works for humans may not work for you. Then teach us to adapt as you do, one representative said. Suji smiled. That was exactly what she had hoped to hear. 5 years passed. The Galactic Council had transformed. Species that once barely spoke to each other now cooperated on research projects, trade agreements, and defense initiatives. The Xenological Institute had become a center of learning, where the galaxy's best minds worked together. Small conflicts still occurred. Disputes over resources, territorial disagreements, cultural misunderstandings. But they were resolved through negotiation more often than force. The Security Council intervened when necessary, with human ships often serving as peacekeepers. Kang Daiho stood before the council one last time. He was retiring finally after 46 years of diplomatic service. His hair was white now, his movements slower, but his mind remained sharp. When I first came to this chamber, he said, I was young and naive. I believed the galaxy would welcome humanity with open arms. I learned quickly that the universe is not so kind. He looked around at the assembled delegates, so many new faces, young species just joining the council, hopeful and eager like humans had once been. We made a choice then, Daiho continued. We could have left, returned to Earth hidden from a galaxy that rejected us. Instead, we stayed. We watched. We learned. We prepared for the day when we would be strong enough to demand respect. Some have criticized this approach. They say we were deceptive, that we manipulated the council, that our methods were dishonorable. He paused. Perhaps they are right. But we survived. And more importantly, we changed the galaxy for the better. He gestured to the circular chamber. Look around. No more tears. No more species designated as weak or strong. We are all equal here. That is humanity's true legacy. Not our weapons or our ships, but the idea that every species deserves dignity and respect. Rovelik stood. The Draknir Chancellor moved slowly these days, bearing the weight of years and defeat. But his voice was still strong. Ambassador Kang, he said formally, the Draknir Empire was wrong about humanity. We underestimated you. We paid for that mistake. But we learned from it. He bowed his great head slightly. You have been a worthy adversary and a better ally. The galaxy is fortunate to have humans among the stars. It was the closest thing to an apology the proud Draknir could manage. Daiho accepted it with grace. Thesik spoke last. The Vol have watched many species rise and fall over 50,000 years. We have seen empires built on conquest crumble. We have seen peaceful species go extinct, but rarely have we seen a species rise to power and choose to share that power rather than hoard it. Humanity's path has been unique. We hope you continue to walk it. The council rose in a standing ovation, humans and aliens together, acknowledging the end of an era and the beginning of something new. Later in his quarters, Daiho packed his few belongings. A photograph of his daughter, now an admiral herself, a small stone from Earth's mountains, a data chip containing every speech he had never given during those silent years. Jiwon and Heejin came to help him. What will you do now? Jiwon asked. She would be taking over as chief ambassador, continuing humanity's work. Go home, Daiho said simply. See my family. Walk in real sunlight. Maybe teach at the university. Share what I have learned. The galaxy will miss you, Heejin said. The galaxy does not need me anymore. It needs new voices, new ideas, fresh perspectives. He smiled at them both. It needs you. As his ship departed the council station, Daiho looked back one last time. The massive structure floated against the stars. A monument to cooperation and shared purpose. A message came through on his personal communicator. From Admiral Minho. Sensors have detected something at the edge of explored space. Unknown signatures. Not any species we recognize. The Security Council is investigating. Daiho read the message twice. The galaxy was vast, full of mysteries, and humanity had only just begun to explore its potential. He typed a reply. Handle it. You are ready. And they were. The species that had once been dismissed as the weakest in the galaxy now stood as its protectors. Not through dominance or fear, but through the same qualities that had allowed them to survive when everyone counted them out. Patience, intelligence, adaptability, and the absolute refusal to accept that weakness was permanent. The galaxy had shaken in fear when humanity finally spoke. Now it rested easier, knowing that when true threats emerged, the patient predators would be ready. This was humanity's gift to the stars, not weapons or technology, but proof that any species could rise above their perceived limitations if they had the courage to try and the wisdom to wait for the right moment. Daiho closed his eyes and smiled. After 287 years of silence and 46 years of speaking, humanity had finally found its voice. And the galaxy was listening.